seriously. And so once we engage, and sometimes we take them out of their comfort zones. It might be a meeting out of where they live. It could be the same country. Sometimes it could be outside the country. But we are ultimately accountable to when we take girls out, even if it's within the same community or the same country. So safeguarding for us is very important. And it's also an important element of getting girls to engage and participate, making sure that all their needs are taken care of. Would always recommend, depending on their ages, in plans, sometimes we even go up to 24 years, that there is a chaperone for the girls, and make sure that they are protected, make sure that their needs are taken care of, and make sure that, any fears and anxieties they have are also dispelled. And that is part of the work that a chaperone will do when we are taking girls out for some of these meetings. Now, overall, as a continent, we are looking at the Africa that we want, and that is the AU's biggest ambition, that will be able to build build strong foundations around the human capital that we have. Now, also recognizing that we have two sexes, boys and girls, and in most countries, the majority would always be girls, women, even if it's just a small difference. And so it's very important for us, if we want to build that continent, if we want to build that country, then it's important that we engage girls in all spheres of life, in the political sphere, in the social sphere, wherever that we think that girls will be able to make a difference. It's very important to engage them. And we also believe that with technology, we need to engage girls in the use of technology, but at the same time also protecting them, because we also know there are a lot of abuses in the use of technology. So it's important that we expose them to the use of technology. It's important that we expose them to science, technology, engineering, and innovations around those, because those are also very important. But above all, I think it's important to expose them to opportunities where they'll be able to learn, expose them to opportunities where they'll be able to observe, and expose them to opportunities where they'll be able to aspire to do more than they can do, and also to challenge themselves. And I believe there are a lot of mentors around. Jennifer, you're one of them. There are a lot more like you who have been doing a great job. And we believe that, some of those platforms, some of those less expensive, less costly platforms and opportunities to get girls to build their confidence and be able to, stand up for themselves are very important. Some, like I said, are not expensive to do, and all we do is to make sure that we engage with them. There are internship activities, programs. Plan our office, we have one, and we try to focus on girls for the most part. Again, that's another opportunity to prepare girls and to get them to be able to participate. So let me end here and open up for any questions, any clarifications. But like I said, we are very happy and pleased to have been invited to be part of this, and we'll continue to support, any opportunity and any platform that support girls to be able to stand up to be themselves and stand up to be able to challenge the status quo, not in a way that defiles what is deemed to be respectful, but in a way that also challenges some of the status quo and the legislations and the cultural practices that tend to bring girls down. So thank you very much. And over to you, Jennifer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sam, and we appreciate the work that Plan is doing, and thank you for bringing in that aspect of inclusion, just ensuring that girls participate. As you heard earlier from Mora, who was one of the panelists here in the panel discussion, she also already shared about, girls are not included. They are not at the table. Apparently, they are on the menu, but we're glad that at least Plan is doing that, something to bring girls on the table, the decision-making table. And thank you for that wonderful presentation. It has been a learning moment, and we are now at the tail end of our discussion this evening. And so we are opening the floor to questions. If you have any question, you can just type in the chat box or lift your hand virtually through using an emoji on the Zoom platform, and we can give you a chance to ask your question to any of the panelists. They will respond, and then we'll be winding up in the next few minutes. We have Terry. Terry, you can go ahead and ask your question. Terry, are you able to ask your question? Terry P. If she's not ready, anyone else, if you have a question, you can just unmute and ask, or you can type in the chat box. Okay, we have a participant in the room here who would like to ask. You can just join me here. Welcome, so that they can also see the face.
All right. Afternoon. I'm Desio Macheso from Center for Reproductive Rights. Thanks for the beautiful presentation, detailed. I'm curious to understand pretty much how the concept of child participation has grown in the space of SRHR. I'm asking this because obviously, because at the end of your presentation, I think you focus a lot about girls. So we cannot, in African context, we cannot talk about challenges that girls are facing without talking about teenage pregnancies and a lot of other SRHR issues. So I want to understand from your perspective how much the concept of child participation has grown or can be grown to enable adolescents to take up spaces and eventually be part of the change. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe that question is directed to Sam because you are from Plan, and Plan works so much with girls, and you've made a presentation on inclusion of girls. So Sam, can you respond to that? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm happy that question was asked by no person, but from somebody from Center for Reproductive Rights. I would like to say that currently Plan and the Center for Reproductive Rights are involved together with the committee, the African Committee of Experts on the Right and Welfare of the Child, in undertaking a continental study on teenage pregnancy. And so, yes, we take the issue of sexual and reproductive health and rights very seriously. We have been involved in building capacity of girls around the Maputo Protocol and scorecard. We recently just launched the scorecard and index, which will be one of the measures for member state implementation of the Maputo Protocol. One of the things that we engage in is that we do understand that adolescent girls have their needs, and especially around sexual and reproductive health rights. And so we incorporate that into most of the program that we have. And when I spoke about creating spaces for only girls, I mean, that was one of the issues I wanted to talk about. And so we build the capacity of girls. We have programs that specifically target girls, especially around sexual and reproductive rights. We are also involved in a campaign against teenage pregnancy, which we have been launching with the African Committee and the Secretariat and the AU campaign team. We have been engaging around activities on ending and eradicating FGM across the continent. And so those are key. We also engage in parenting. And sometimes these things need to be spoken about at home. And so we build the capacity of parents, especially mothers, to be able to speak to their daughters around some of the issues that they need to be talking about, and especially when they get into their teenage ages. We also have peer-to-peer programs that we support in a number of countries that we work in. And the whole idea is to be able to support girls, especially for those issues that they might not be able to discuss with their parents, be able to do that. There are other activities. For example, we, in some cases, identified that not all girls are able to get sanitary pads when they reach their menstrual ages, and so we support with menstrual pads. But also in most countries, we have been advocating for government to remove taxes in places where government have taxes on sanitary pads. So again, we take that seriously, and like I said, there are a couple of initiatives that we are undertaking, either with girls themselves or with girls with other people. Recently, we have been doing some work with Facebook and also with the Total News. Though it's not directly around SRHR, it also have elements which deals with building the capacity of girls to become. Issues around SRHR has to do with the confidence of girls to be able to challenge, like I said, some of our stereotypes. So those are some of the things we do, and I guess for those who are in countries where plan works, you might be able to also learn a lot more from the countries where we work. But these are just a few examples of how we concretely work with girls around the issue of sexual reproductive health and rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam, for that comprehensive response. I believe you're satisfied with the response? Yes, he is. I'm joined here by another participant who has a question. I don't know to which panelist. Let's just get heard from her.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Mombe Mogwongo. I'm with Thriving Child. My question is to Dr. Elvis on the concept that you have shared with us, the balance concept. My first question is, where can we access it? And also for people who are working with very young children. I work with children accompanying their mothers to prison. I feel also they have evolving capacity to participate in whatever issues, even in giving of their views. And of course, while working maybe with child psychologists or something. Is this concept something that can be adapted or borrowed to work with very young children? And also, again, as I had asked, where can we access it? Thank you.
Greetings first to my brother Sam. I'm sure that you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So let's start. Maybe before I get to the question that was asked to me, can I just add a little bit of component into what Sam just said just now? And it is important that maybe, given that we shouldn't fixate our minds on the African Children's Charter to find specific provisions that will protect girl child, the girl child's sexual and reproductive health rights. We can just maybe move our mindset into the Maputo Protocol as well, and we look specifically at maybe Article 14 of the Maputo Protocol, which speaks specifically around issues around sexual and reproductive health rights. Now, this provision is very important because in terms of this law, this is the first, and we are proud as Africans that it is our instrument that is referred as the first instrument that has expressly covered issues around sexual and reproductive health rights. So it covers the girl child, maybe from when the menstrual cycle starts. It could be from 10 or from 12, right up to the age of adolescence and of course into womanhood. Now, what is important, if you take that and you put it into the aspect of participation, what that provision actually says is this. It actually makes it very clear in the sense that a girl child has the right to decide or when they want to use contraceptives. Now, I give you one clear example. In South Africa, we have what we call the Termination of Pregnancy Act. Now, that act, which allows the girl child to terminate pregnancy, actually empowers the girl child from the age of 12 to terminate pregnancy without parental consent. So the girl child at 12 can move into a clinic and request for termination of pregnancy. It is a doctor's prerogative now to advise the child on the processes, depending on the trimester on which the pregnancy falls. If it is the first trimester, then the risk is low. The second trimester, the risk is moderate. The third trimester, then the risk is very high. And at this point, the doctor might then ask that, can we see one of your guardians or someone? So you see the process that allows the child to be able to make an opinion without parental consent right from that point. So all of that also plays in. And this is why in some of the work that we are doing here at the center, we are looking at the sufficiency of the African Children's Charter to protect certain aspects of children's community or the children's population. And this is exactly one of those in which space the African Charter is insufficient or is inadequate. We are blessed to have several provisions we can then borrow from the Maputo Protocol to highlight or to strengthen certain aspects of the African Children's Charter. And now to the question that was asked to me about children in incarcerated mothers and child participation, the prison setting and all whatnot. So there are three things that play out in that space. The first one, which is right here in the middle, is the state. You are incarcerated in a state institution, which means that control around that area and governance of that space rest with the state authority or the state agent, and in this case, the prison guard or the prison authorities. Those are state agents. And then you have a child who has been dragged to prison just because their mom has been incarcerated. So you have that space as well that plays out there. The question is, will this child have an opinion in terms of the freedom that they want to move around the prison yard or the freedom of their mother, if I understand what your question was all about? Yes, to an extent, and that is why we have this middle person, the state, that will always, in most cases, listen to the opinion of the child whose mother has been incarcerated. This is, in a way, an innocent person, but just because of the burden and the importance of parental care and the importance of providing, in a case where the child is very young, breast milk, for example, or where the child only has this person as their parent, this child has been dragged to prison. Most prisons, and I don't know much about the Kenyan prisons, most prisons do allow this child to have the freedom to play around and also in some cases to step out of the prison yard because this child is a passive prisoner, only brought in for the crimes committed by the mom. There is space for consultation. And in the space where there's a psychologist invited, note that in most prison institutions, psychologists are also state agents. In most of those institutions, they are also state agents where they come to advise the mom just in case where the support provided to the child is not sufficient. And in the process, they might also want to consult the child. In fact, they should be encouraged in a prison setting to listen to the child. And this is because the child might have certain opinion or certain aspects to raise in terms of the environment, the way the mom is allowed to meet the child, the frequency of meeting the child, and how comfortable they are in that environment. So if in your work, Mumbi, you also have access to psychologists, please do encourage them at every time, including the prison wardens, to also gather the opinion of that child to see whether they are comfortable where they are and to explain to them why their mom is here, because most students do not understand that space. And in some cases, it could, in a way, also advise or maybe strengthen the child's ability to understand the difference between crime and non-criminal actions. If you commit criminal actions, you end up here. And if you commit non-criminal actions, you won't be here. So there are many things that play out in that space, and the advantage is huge. So please do engage these two state agents to explain to them the importance of listening to the views of that child in that space. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Elvis. I believe Mumbi is satisfied. We want to wrap up now, and I want to welcome a child.
You hear me? Yeah, just a quick one. If Mumbi, you can Google. I don't usually say this, but yes, you can Google. I've left a copy of it with Jane as well. It's something that has been in circulation since almost 7 years now. And it is just now that it's gaining some momentum, and in terms of its applicability, especially in the private setting or the family setting. But you can Google or you ask Jane. Jane should have access to it, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Elvis. We are going to share with Mumbi. There's a paper we tried doing while setting up a project, and we made reference to your model, and so I believe we have a copy as well. We're going to circulate that, and we're going to share with Mumbi as well. So we've come to the end of our webinar for today, and because we are talking about child participation and we have a child in the room, I want to give this opportunity to a child, Omar, to just give a vote of thanks and wrap up the webinar. Thank you so much for being able to join. My name is Daniel Davi. Omar, over to you. And you're free to do it your way. You're a child. You can stand. You're not restricted.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dan. Thank you for also allowing for the child in the room to participate, because this is basically all about child participation. Without the child participating, we're actually doing nothing. So thank you so much, Dan. I'd love to give a vote of thanks to everyone who has given their presentation, to everyone who has attended this webinar. I want to say thank you from a child's perspective. Also, thank you for trying to give your views and for also allowing me to understand more about child participation in a broader perspective in which I myself also did not understand, and also for sharing the challenges that actually hinder child participation to be accepted by the society, the community, the country, and even international wide. I also want to thank the doctors and also the participants who have participated in giving their views, in showing their presentations. I want to say thank you so much from Omar Ahmed. And at this juncture, I would love to say goodbye, since we have come to the end of the webinar. Thank you so much for all for attending. Asante sana.
Thank you, my brother. I'll see you soon.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah, definitely see you soon.